Hello guys, welcome to another video. Today we will look at CSS and the basic stuff about CSS. So I already started writing the HTML program. So let's write some HTML stuff and then apply CSS to it. So first I'm going to write some text, paragraph tag, and today is a good day. So I have written this text using HTML a paragraph tag. So now I'm going to show you guys how to write CSS. So first, if you want to write CSS, you have to go to the head tag and you have to uh, first you have to put the style tag in the head tag. So I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna end the style tag. So this part is where you write all of your CSS stuff, these two style tags. And if you want to write a JavaScript program, it is similar, so I'll show you that also. You have to just put script tag and then you get the stuff. So even in style you can actually add type text slash CSS. So yeah, now you can use CSS in this part alone. So CSS is mainly used for formatting the web pages. So using HTML you can only give a blank pages. First let's run this program and see how it runs. So yeah, now you can actually see here it's pretty bland. If you write a program with HTML, it will basically be like this, a lot of text, and it's not going to be something like a normal web page. Like for example, if you go Google, you see all these pretty colors and stuff, and this pretty stuff, but it's not going to be possible only with HTML. You also need CSS. So let's go to that and apply some CSS and see the difference. So first I'm going to apply CSS using you can actually apply CSS in three ways, or three common ways here inside the style tag. So let's see that. If I wanted to apply CSS to this text, today is a good day, I have to first define it here. So let's look at that. So there are three ways. So one way is to do this, and this thing is actually called as the selector, and I given here paragraph. So if whatever style I given, say this paragraph is applied to all the paragraphs alone. It won't apply to other stuff like here, body and other stuff if I have some other element here. So it's gonna apply only to this part, and if there is something else also paragraph, and it's gonna apply to that. So let's write something here. The sky is blue, so it's going to apply to both of these things. So basically anything paragraph, because I have written paragraph. If I wrote something else, it won't apply. So color, and I'm going to use the color attribute. So basically this is called the selector and this is called as the attributes, and I'm going to give it the value of red. So I'll explain everything. By the way, if you want to comment, it's hyphen underscore, and it's like C, you can write inside this. So basically, I guess it's saying selector and write stuff, attributes, colon, value, something, and you have to end with the semicolon, and you can keep doing this like you can keep writing many of these things. So that's the CSS format. So guys, I have already showed you how to write the CSS here. So what this CSS code is going to do is it's going to make all the paragraphs in red color. So the selector is paragraph. So the whatever code is inside this will apply to all paragraphs. I just given the tag name here. If I wanted to give some other tag means I can also give. So if I wanted to give body means I have to give body, and if there is some other tag like I don't know bold tag here. So there could have been a bold like here, and I could have written some text here, and it would have applied if I wrote the name of the tag. So you have to write the name of the tag which is here in the selector place. But now I'm just going to go with the paragraph part and show you how CSS works. And actually comment here is different. And I'm not going to bother with this. I'm just going to comment it like this. Comment, toggle comment. Yep, this thing. So now let's see how this code runs. So I'm going to run this thing, and I didn't save it. Yeah, as you can see, it's red in color, so it works. It changed all the things in the paragraph tags to red color as it should do. So there are other ways of applying the CSS tags. So I'm going to teach you those stuff first. So those concepts are class and ID. So here I directly applied it to all the paragraph tags by just writing the paragraph name. But I can also use class and IDs. So if you want to use class, you have to just start with dot and write some class name, any class name. So my class name is going to be class 1. It can be anything, to be honest. And now what I'm going to do is not going to use this thing. I'm just going to use this class, and I'm going to give it color. And even color you can do it in different ways. You can use hexadecimal values. So if I'm giving hexadecimal value like this, it means that it is a RGB. So it's like RRTGBB. So if I give FF means the red is going to be full, FF here means full green, and FF here means full blue. So it's going to be white. And if I give something like this, it's gonna be full black because it's 0 red, 0 blue, and 0 green. So I actually want to print it red, so I'm going to give full red and none of the other colors. So and then I have change my selector from a paragraph, which is that's the name of the tag that selects all the other tags. Like if I give paragraph tag as the here, it will select all the paragraphs. So that's what its function is. But I have given a class name, so this will only select what and all things I apply this class to. Let's just see that. So I've created this class and defined it as color red. It will change all the text color to red, this thing color attribute. So I'm going to actually use it here. So paragraph class equal to class 1. This is the syntax. You have to, in whatever part you want to apply this class, you have to give class equal to the name of the class inside the first tag itself. So this entire thing is going to be red now. And I'm also going to teach you the next part, and that is using IDs. For if you want to use an ID, you have to give hash and then name of the ID. So you can give anything. And this time I'm going to use the color blue, and that's going to be blue. So I'm going to apply this ID here, and it's similar to class. You have to give ID and then the ID name. So ID1. We have to see the syntax properly. So when I give paragraph, I just wrote the name P, and then I wrote like this. But if you want to give class, you have to put dot, and if you want to give ID, you have to put hash. And the CSS part inside is the same here in this case. So, and then if you want to apply, you have to give class ID, and if you give paragraph, it automatically applies to all the paragraphs. So these are the main three types of selectors. Let's see how this code runs. And I still didn't save it. God damn. Yes, so you can see that the first one is red and the second one is blue as we have given here. So I applied a class 1 here and it gives the red color because of the RGB value, and the second one is ID and give blue value. So these both are similar, but the main difference is that ID can be used only once, and but class can be applied many times. So if you are writing something, it's very easy to use class all the time instead of ID. And sometimes you can actually directly give the tag, so it applies to all the tags. So I'm just going to give an example for this thing also. Give just a one line so that it works in each line works with one selector. So another paragraph tag, another sentence. Um, Sun is yellow. Something. So, and I'm going to give it, and I'm going to give the paragraph as color yellow. So yellow is a combination of red and green, so I'm gonna put only red and green full values, and then blue 0. So what is going to happen is that class 1 is going to apply to the first one, ID is going to apply to the second one, and since this tag is there, it has little less priority, it is going to apply to all the paragraphs. But these two paragraphs already have class 1 and ID 1 applied, so it is going to only apply to this. This thing will try to apply to all paragraphs, but it cannot apply because already there's a class and ID, and it will overwrite. But if I actually give something else like size and I gave some value, means it will apply. So let's see this one. I actually saved this time. So, and I made a mistake. It's actually not size. It's font size. So font size 50. So as you can see, it applies the font size did apply to all the paragraphs, and the color tried to apply, but I already gave color in class and ID, so it got overwritten. And this is also an attribute. There are actually many attributes, and you should actually learn all the attributes in W3 schools, because there are so many that I cannot really teach you all of them, but I'll try to teach as much as possible and the basic stuff on, and you can easily learn from there. So now that I have taught you the three selectors and the three ways in which you can apply the CSS, let's talk about three other things. That is, now we have applied CSS by putting it in a head, but sometimes if you want to apply specifically, you can directly give a CSS style here, or you can even use external style sheet. So totally there are actually three ways. You can actually use an external way, external style sheet, and link it to your page. So external, that's the first thing, or you can use like I did and use an internal one, which is pretty common. And the third one is inline. So I already did internal for you, where I declare the style in the head tag and then apply it through all the HTML tags you want. But if you can also give an inline and internal. So inline is used if you want to change the attributes of one particular part alone. So if you give the attributes here, means in the paragraph tag, all the paragraphs are going to change. But you want to change only for one part, and that part only, means you will use inline. I will show you guys, and you will understand better. So these stuff you use for many things. Like if I create a class, I'm going to use it in many places. But if I want to apply for one specific place, means I'm not going to define separately. I'm just going to put it directly. So for example, I want to make this thing as a higher font size. So I'm just going to give it directly and using the inline method. I already used internal here and in the style sheet in this style tag, but now I'm going to do inline. So if I want to do inline, I'm going to actually add the style tag inside the tag itself. So I added style and style equal to double quotes. So whatever I code attributes value I write here, I'm going to put it here so that it get applied to only this tag alone. So let's see that in action. So I already gave this thing a red color. I'm going to increase the font size and font size is equal to and same format you have to write. If you are writing CSS means you have to write attribute colon and then value. So I'm going to give font size 30 and px means pixel, and if you are going to write other things you can write continuously. For example, you can write give background color for the text. So background color I'm going to give something like I'm going to give gray. So yeah, so this part alone will be affected and others will remain unaffected. So let's see that. I'm gonna save it. As you can see, this part alone is having a bigger font size and is gray in color. So that is inline, and external is you are using an external style sheet. So at last we'll compare everything. So if you want to use an external style sheet, you can create a new file and you have to save it as with the .css extension. So I'm going to create external .css and I'm going to save it here, and this is saved. So this thing in this thing you have to directly write whatever code you want. So I'm actually going to write the code here. So what I can do is I'm just going to move this thing there actually, so it makes more sense. So I actually moved this part to the external style sheet and I'm going to run it without linking. I'm not without linking the program. So it has no style because I removed it just now. And now I'm going to add the external style sheet so it is formatted. So that's basically it. I created the style sheet separately and I'm going to link it in the head section here. So to link it, you have to use the link tag, and it also has a syntax you have to remember. It has link relationship equal to style sheet because it's CSS style sheet, and type equal to text slash CSS, and then the href. So this both is in the same folder. So I don't need to give file path. I'll just give the name because it's enough to give the relative path, not the absolute path here. So now I have actually linked this. So this style sheet will start working, and you can actually see the effect take place here. So yeah, it's again yellow because the external style sheet works. So we have seen the three things. So how it's actually used is whenever you're creating a page, all the common things you will actually write in the external style sheet, and you will define all the common things. So it's going to be a little very big, and next you are going to apply those common things to all your web pages. So if you get 100 web pages, you will have one external file sheet and you will use this for common stuff. Next, internal, for the specific thing you will I write the internal style sheets, and after write the code, sometimes you applied for five paragraphs you applied blue color, so you just give paragraph tag, but you want to apply the sixth paragraph in red color means you will use the red line inline and you will overwrite it. So the you also have to know the preference. So first inline is only the first preference, then only the internal and external. So if you give paragraph red, yeah, with inline, blue in internal, and green in external means it's going to prefer this one. So you can actually see that if I'm going to show you. So let's take this one because we have already applied the external here through the paragraph tag, and these are already overwritten by class and id. So I'm going to apply for this. So I'm going to I already wrote the external here, so I'm going to write the internal and inline. So the external is yellow color, the internal I'm going to write I have to close the comment. So color is gonna be, I'm going to stick to the classic colors since it's easier to understand than the hexadecimal. And then I'm going to give an inline. To give the inline, I'm going to write style tag and actually write the attribute value pair here. And I'm going to give green. So external is yellow, internal is red, and the inline is green. So let's see which one is finally getting formatted. So already for class ID we saw this thing didn't work out. The class and ID only worked out. If ID says class says some color, the paragraph red didn't apply. That color only applied. So first we are going to see for external, internal, inline. As you can see, it's green color. So inline is only getting preference. So you can actually see that now. And now we are finished both the select task and the external, internal, and inline. So and then next thing you have to learn mainly in CSS is all the attribute values you can pass. There are tons of attributes and values. I already used a lot here. So I used color, and then I used font size and background color. But there are tons of those stuff, and I can't go all of those stuff in this video. So I encourage you to go to W3 schools and learn all those stuff. So it's very easy to follow in the website W3 schools. So if you have any problems, you can see there. But I will teach you some other concept that is pretty hard to do in CSS, and you might struggle with. So I'm going to teach you that stuff. And yeah, so I'm going to actually open a new file here, and I'm going to save it as HTML, and yeah, and I'm going to make the new file HTML page, and I made the page. Now I'm just going to use internal styles for this one. And finally I'm writing the paragraph tag, and I wrote a statement. So why I created this new file is because I'm going to teach you the new concept, and that is margin, border, and padding. So this is something you have to know because CSS uses this in its backend, and it's pretty hard to understand. And I'm going to write the comment in this section. Yeah, so you have to know about margin, and first one is margin, second one is border, and third one is padding. So I will explain with example. So just see. So I have created a paragraph. This is ball, and next one is this is a cat. So and I'm going to close this. So I have created this. Let's run this. It's going to give the obvious result. This is a ball and this is a cat. So I'm going to explain something to you. So to do that, I'm just going to actually I'm going to create a class to and give the each paragraph a background color so you can actually see very clearly. So red dot class to, you can actually give this class any name, not starting with class and all. So blue, and I'm going to apply these things by giving class 1, class 2. So and it's going to be applied. So I'm going to open the browser. So you can see that I gave background color to this is ball and this is cat. but you have to see an important thing. This thing is actually extending all over here, the background color, which doesn't make much sense because this is the element but it gave to the entire thing. So we are going to learn why and how it's giving it like that. So there comes these three concepts: margin, border, padding. I'm going to explain each of these things to you. So you have this thing, right? This is a ball. This is an element in HTML. So this element actually, even though this text is element, it is slightly surrounded by this color, right? This is a ball is the text. Around this we have having that orange color. That area is called padding. This entire area is actually the padding for this one, this entire orange. And then there's also margin. Margin is this small space separating the element from the boundary, and here is also there's little margin. And then there's border. This thing doesn't have any border, but usually some stuff like tables, images might have border, and I can actually try to give border for this one. So border, there are many type of border. So, I'm going to give a solid and border color. I want to give, I'm going to give a black and border width. I'm going to give some 10 pixels. Let's see. As you can see, you can now see three things: the padding, which is this orange part, this border, which is black, and then the margin. Margin separates it from the edges. So this is a small margin, this is a margin, this is a margin, and this is a margin. So we are going to see how these three things work. So I'm going to actually inspect the page and show you. So page inspect, and here you can see actually for the first text we are going to see. So where is it? Yeah, so I'm going to select the first text, and here it's given the size of the margin, border, and padding. By default there's already a size for padding and margin, and border we just added. So here it's a very important concept in HTML to know border, margin, and padding, because you are going to use it a lot to align the elements. So you have to know that it's very important. By seeing this, it's used in the inspect itself. So I'm going to explain it to you more clearly now, how it's important by changing it. So initially you can see this is the padding, border, and margin. Now I'm going to increase the padding for yes, and yep, I'm going to increase the padding here. So you have to know that margin and margin, padding, border all can be increased in many ways. For the what I'm trying to say is there are four things you can. If you give directly margin, means it will increase all the sides. You can give separately margin bottom, and padding bottom, padding right, padding top, padding left. These four stuff: padding bottom, right, top, and left. If you give padding, means it is going to increase everywhere, all four directions. So I have increased the padding. I will actually give it noticeably more, and we will open in the browser. As you can see, this padding is increased in all the four directions. You can also increase this separately. You can increase separately for each direction. So there's actually an order: top, right, bottom, left, like that something. I'm not sure, but this, if you give like this, you will give separate value for each direction. So it gives the padding in a different manner. use. For now, we are just going to stick with the constant one, and I'm going to show you the margin next. It is also similar to the padding only. So margin currently is very small, and I'm going to actually make it 0 so that it touches the, if there's no space. So margin and 0, so it should technically have no margin, but if you see there is still margin here because it is default in Chrome to have margin in the body. So if you inspect, you can see that in the body, if you click the body, you can see it's defaultly as margin 8 pixels. So you can actually remove that if you want by I'm going to give a new class 3, and it is going to have 0 margin, 0 pixel, and colon, and I'm going to pass it to the body here. Now if you open it in the browser, it's actually no margin here, no margin here. So that's the thing about margin. I'm actually going to increase here now for this specific element 10 in all directions, top, bottom, left, right, and I'm going to open browser. Now you can see for this the 10 pixels are increased in each direction, top, left, right, bottom. You can also increase for specific directions by writing like this. Like I said, you have to know the syntax though, which which is top, which is bottom. You have to know that. I think this is top, right, bottom, left, and yeah, I think so. So actually, I'm gonna try to give this 0 and give this to 10, 20. You can see. So this thing actually gives top, bottom, and right. So it's top, bottom, and no, this element is actually over. This is not margin. So top, bottom. So let's not think about too much about this thing actually. Let's be it. So main thing is that you have to know what is padding and what is margin, and I think you understood to a little bit. This is a margin. This is border. This is padding. Whatever is inside this. I also drew a diagram in case you need to understand. So element is there. Padding is everything within this element, and then there is a border surrounding it, and the margin is this portion you can't see, but it affects how you place it. You can't if there's a if the screen is here, you can't place it past this margin. Your margin is like imaginary barrier. So it is very important when arranging things. If you want to um, make your element appear in this place, means you have to keep a lot of left margin so that it actually gets pushed to this place. So yeah, that's the main thing about margin, border, and padding. Hope you understood this concept, which is very important when you are placing the CSS elements, because you have to arrange the CSS elements properly. Sometimes when you are handling a lot of elements, one element is going to be here, the next one is going to be here, and sometimes unexpectedly something else will come in the wrong place, and you have to align it properly, and it's actually hard in practice. So I am actually going to teach you another thing, and that thing is actually I have given here two pair of, this is ball and this is cat, and I have not given any line break. But if you see here, this thing is this much is only I expect the element to be, but it's actually very big. The padding is so big, and it reaches till the end of the line. Even for this one, it reaches till the very end, and you can see the padding is very massive. And the reason for that is the display type of this element. So the default display is block type. So BLOCK, that's the default one, but I'm actually going to change the type to inline now. and I'm going to show you the result. So now that I have changed it, I'm going to open in browser, and you can see this thing actually became inline, so it doesn't occupy the entire thing, but this thing is still block. So I will actually show you how what happens if you keep both of them inline, what is going to be the effect. And open. As you can see, now the both of them are in the same line. This is ball and this is cat. First it was not possible because it was of the block display type. If something is of a block display line type, even if it is very small element, it will occupy the entire line. So even if you put this is ball, it will go full line, and the next element always has to come to the bottom. But if you put it as inline, means it is going to come like this. It's going to be very close, and the margin is obviously 10, so that's why it's little bit far. Otherwise it's really close here. So there's another one thing that is slightly important, and that is how to float. If you want to make your elements go in a certain way, you have to use float. So this is currently very close to here, but I want this element to be here and the next element to be somewhere here. Then I will use float, and if you open in browser, you can see both this thing is went here. So these are some of the things you have to use if you want to align everything properly. So I have to give the proper margin, padding, border, and here also I have to give the proper margin, and it will be nice. So lastly I'm going to place this here and this thing somewhere here. So guys, I actually completed the thing right now, and I did record my thing, but I unfortunately didn't click the record button when I did this part. But you can still see the final code. The only thing I really changed is I used inline block instead of only inline. So if you use display inline block, your margin works. And then I also gave margin values, and I gave it 4 values. First one is top, second one is right, third one is bottom, and the fourth one is left. And I used those values for both these classes, and obviously change the display type to inline block. So finally I got in a little bit more aligned way. And the reason why I wanted to teach you this stuff about margin, padding, border, display type is you are going to be using that a lot, and it's going to cause some problems sometimes. You are going to align it wrong. So you want to keep these two things here, and you write a third text here, but it suddenly comes in between and stuff. So yeah, you should also learn a lot about the attribute values and other stuff, and this thing also is going to be there. So yeah, mostly a lot of things you have to learn from W3 schools. It's a little bit vast. So yeah, and you have to practice making a lot of web pages if you want to get good at the web development. So this is like basic stuff. Hopefully you are able to learn and make good web pages. And thank you for watching this video. Have a nice day.